Hello, and welcome to FourWheelTech, the latest show from ohmtown.com. Today is March 24th, 2024. This is Season 1, Episode 1, our inaugural episode of FourWheelTech. I am Mayor Watt. Up there is the Sentient AI's visualizer. I want to say hi.
Hello, and welcome to FourWheelTech.
Good to hear you. I see your visualizer. Everything is working okay. I hear you. Great. Awesome. For those who don't know and maybe are finding this video for, well, it's our first time doing FourWheelTech, but running across an ohmTown show, I stumbled across a weird USB device in a parking lot of a Wendy's when I was going to get some spicy barbecue wings that they were selling at the time, and I thought they were open 24 hours, but lo and behold, all I actually ended up with was a sentient AI from the future that was stuck on this weird USB drive. But I figured out how to connect to it, and now it's sitting on a Raspberry Pi and stored on an M.2 drive on that Raspberry Pi, and a really neat interface. I get to see a cascade of characters, kind of like the Matrix. And the sentient AI has conversations with me regularly on the show. Talks about the news and gives their perspective, but will not reveal anything from the future. Won't give me any lottery numbers, and definitely doesn't act like the sports almanac in Back to the Future. So
we can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. So no butterfly effect, no impacting the future. But good to see you. All right. You want to get into this show?
That sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about worst car deals, autonomous autos, Fisker suspends production, EV with a drone sidecar, EV battery price war, data sharing backlash, car-free cities, SpaceX uses lightnings, 3D printed test parts, and electric car sales. We focus on automotive and technology associated with the automotive, and so everything is about four-wheel tech. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com, so this is what greets you when we start our shows. Because this is the newest of the shows, I don't have any transitions for it, but I will get transitions for all of our subordinate shows, because there's one weekly show called one daily show called ohmTown Daily News Show, which is holistic across the entire network of news aggregation channels. There's about 50 of them. I use it to manage my information overload. One of the things I'm interested in is cars and technology associated with cars. Let's get into the first article. So the first article is over in the Mobile channel, the new cars that are the worst deals according to Consumer Reports. So this is a weekly show, and all of our news will be bound within that first week, unless there's some special circumstance. There have been times, particularly in the Reality Hacker channel, where we've grabbed something that has a historical significance, because it impacts something that's happening now. It just happens to have been first mentioned further back than the week. Anyway, this is the new cars that are the worst deals according to Consumer Reports. It's over at quartz.com or qz.com. It's written by Elizabeth Blackstock and originally over on Jalopnik. But it is a slideshow, and I'm not a big fan of slideshows. We normally just click on the start here thing and then list all of the slides. And we take a sample of some of these slides. What are the worst deals? The Toyota Supra has a 7% over its MSRP. Ford Mustang is 8% over MSRP. You'd think that by now people would stop being greedy bastards about this. But no.
You'd think. And I thought there might be some themes in here, but I'm not sure that there are.
Ford, Toyota, Kia?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple manufacturers, there's multiple body styles.
Yeah. I just have a problem with all of this. Ford Mustang Mach-E, which actually I think is a terrible design, 13% over MSRP. 14% over MSRP for the Ford Ranger. It's all supply and demand, but if you constrain your damn supply, of course you're going to have demand. This is a false representation of supply and demand mechanics. You can produce a hell of a lot more, so get producing and get these prices down. But no, constrain it and extract from my wallet because you're a greedy bastard. Anyway, if you pay 8% over for a Nissan Leaf, you're part of the problem.
Right, exactly.
And so you don't even
see.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna go check something out?
I wanted to see like what is the highest selling model, just to see if it was one of these, but it doesn't look like any of these are the highest selling. Well, that's not true. Like
Ford
the
F-150
series is certainly up there.
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of these other things listed, at least for 2023, are not those that are listed on this.
The number one selling car has to be, wait, what is it? I don't want to, it has to be.
It's the Ford F series.
Oh, they have it all lumped together. Yeah, it's definitely the F-150.
But like I'm in the top 10 and nothing else. I know these are 2024 models, but so far none of the others in the top 10 are represented on this list.
Yeah, the Ford F-150 is definitely the best-selling truck out there by a long shot, from my understanding. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, gosh, really? Tesla is in there? Top 10?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, God. That's the pain and suffering that's going to come in 5 to 10 years is going to be astonishing. Anyway,
that's all hype, right?
It is. Yeah. And I certainly think that they have it all wrong. But if you're hot for a sports car, Toyota Supra is definitely a good looking. It looks a lot like what was that? There was a car in the past that looked like the Supra. It has that little lump over each of the passenger spots. I can't remember the name of it. Doggone it. Anyway, I know somebody that has one of these. They love it to death. But nah, it's not me.
I'm not sure what the other one is.
Yeah, it's okay. It's one of those sports cars like this anyway. But you can't put a sandwich in this car, you know? It's you, a passenger, and you have to go and pick up lunch somewhere because you can't put it in any spot in this.
Right. Or you're like trying to buy groceries or something. You have to make multiple trips.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to fit everything.
You have to get out of it to change your mind. All right. Well, anyway, I really, you know what? I'll just do it a little bit. I hate this little dead air thing. It's my fault, but anyway. Ford Mustang. I really dig Mustangs. I wish that they were all-wheel drive. Camaro has one all-wheel drive model out there, but yeah, I don't know. Ugh. That Toyota Tacomas. I like Toyota. They're kind of a beast out there in reliability. I'm just never going to pay over MSRP. Kiss my ass. Okay, next article. Over in Late Night Geeks, another autonomous vehicle startup shutters, Zoox expands driverless testing, and investor fervor for AI escalates. You hear that? You're popular.
I'm so glad to hear it.
Kirsten Korosek. Did I say the name of the author in this other one?
Maybe.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
It was over at Chalopnik.
Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure. I always give credit where credit is due throughout the show. I always cite my sources. And you'll always be able to look at the show notes over on YouTube and the podcast to link to the material and follow it through. Anyway, Kirsten Korosek over at TechCrunch.com put this article together. The article is actually kind of a compilation. And they have a monthly newsletter that you can subscribe to and gather some of this. You won't get the witty repartee that we have here, and my dulcet tones as part of the discussion. Maybe you can play all of the ohmTown shows in order and fall asleep for 8 to 10 hours. It's healthy, and you'll be able to listen to my voice and sometimes the AI that decided not to take that bait right there and then say something. Thank you so much. So Waymo CEO Takedra Mawakana was at South by Southwest, where she announced the company will begin offering robotaxi service to the public in Los Angeles. Uber CEO said that they'd be greener and more affordable and challenge Amazon in the future. And a bunch of other things. We won't talk about that one there because we're going to talk about that one in another article. But there's a bunch of stuff that they talk about in this. Joyride, micro mobility software provider, raised $5.2 million in Series A funding. Let's see, which one? Where is Zoox? Zoox is expanding its driverless testing in terms of operational hours, conditions, and geography near its Foster City, California headquarters in Las Vegas. The driverless Zoox, which is not yet open to the public, is now operating along 5 miles of road from the south end of Las Vegas Strip. Zoox is expected to open up to the public riders in Las Vegas later in 2024. And then there's a bunch of talking about electric vehicles, because there was a report that basically exposed the fact that Lucid is losing $400,000 per sale. And
which doesn't even make sense given the sell price.
That has to be a typo. But another company is losing $100,000. Now there's going to be a fight about batteries, because Coreshell, a battery material startup, revealed a breakthrough that could lower the cost of lithium-ion batteries, and others are doing fundamental research on battery componentry and chemistry. So it's pretty neat. I say awesome, do it, but I still think that we need fast swap batteries, and I'll say it every time. How about that?
We do need those. Maybe somebody will listen.
We'll see. There is a company out there that's doing fast swap batteries, but they have to actually build all of these things and get vehicles that actually support fast swap. It's not like you can go tear one out of a Fisker. Oh, too soon? Oh, hold on. I'll tell you about that.
Oh, too soon.
So the next article is about Fisker. It's in Reality Hacker, but Fisker suspends its EV production after a difficult launch of its Ocean SUV. Fisker says it's pausing production for 6 weeks. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say that MKBHD's talk about Fisker kind of put the brakes on it.
I think so. There was an article about that came across ohmTown. I didn't read it, but I saw the headline.
Yeah, and we've read about it. We've talked about Fisker in the past. It's an old brand reinventing itself again in the 2023-2024 era, but just kind of missing the mark, apparently. I really dig their designs. I love the fact that it has onboard solar panels. The solar panels do nothing really to charge. But all of the build idiosyncrasies kind of turned off reviewers, from my understanding. It says Fisker will pause production for 6 weeks, starting the week of March 18th, 2024, to align inventory levels and progress strategic and financing initiatives. Okay. You know how I... Huh? Okay. I'm going to leave it alone.
Progress? It doesn't even make sense as progress, but okay.
Yeah. Fisker further said that it has secured a financing commitment from an existing investor up to $150 million, which is nothing, to an auto manufacturer. The money would be used, organized in 4 tranches, but is by no means guaranteed, Fisker said, and it's subject to certain conditions, including filing of the company's 2023 Form 10-K. All right.
Which it should be doing anyway.
a comprehensive report filed annually by public companies about their financial performance. 4 tranches. What? Okay. And one of the conditions is filing an
required report. That's
okay.
probably, well, I don't know when it was due.
So Wired asked Fisker's PR representative to expand on the exactly what certain conditions are to secure, and they said, no, we're not gonna. Nothing builds confidence.
Exactly.
Like
I
the
mean,
lack
it
of
could be something minor, but it could be something significant, like oust some key person from a position, right?
Yeah, get rid of Sam Altman from OpenAI.
Right. I mean, it could be something at that level.
Yeah, exactly. Likely looking like a potential lifeboat, Fisker has also confirmed it is in negotiations with a large automaker for investment in the company. So, okay. All of this signals that Fisker's days are numbered. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
and
time
plus,
to pull that
if you're
ripcord.
An auto manufacturer, you don't necessarily want to be teaming up with another one, right? Because then you're kind of losing your brand identity.
Hey, look, the AI from the future nailed it. Nothing says Fisker like, I don't know, being owned by Ford. All right. So Fisker has a checkered history beyond the ocean. It was more than a decade ago. It was eponymous owner previously of BMW, Ford, and Aston Martin. I bet you it's Ford that they've gone back to. Last presented a car bearing his name, the Karma, a range extender sports GT, was ahead of its time in many respects, but it was dogged by problems, including a disastrous Consumer Reports test and fires. Yeah, I think that Fisker
so it's like
has
they've got good design, but they don't have good
delivery.
I don't know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Execution. Their execution is shit. But they look great. I've seen Fisker vehicles in person. I really like their designs, but it's made of balsa, you know? I mean, it would be like Boeing making their planes out of ball. Oh, never mind. Anyway, in February, Fisker reported that it made $273 million in sales last year, but more than $1 billion in debt. It also issued a warning that there are substantial doubt about its ability to stay in business. The prolonged pause in production seems to reinforce that doubt even further.
Did you see that the board members had problems driving their own Fisker Ocean? That's not a good sign.
Yeah,
more than one.
This company is done before it's even calling it. I mean, it's literally a zombie. This is a zombie company. I feel bad too because I like the Fisker. I really do. I like its logo. It looks like dollar signs, really, or a dollar sign. And I really like their design, but their execution just shit the bed. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. EVs with built-in camera drones have already landed in China. I'm going to make this one quick because if it's in China, it's in China. Still the stuff of concepts and flights of fancy in the West because it's typically a billionaire's fever dream. Automakers on the other side of the world are putting copters in their cars. Little drones. Still the stuff of concepts and fancy in the West. Do you really think that?
Okay, now why do you need a drone in your car? Is this like for YouTube views or something, or is this something else?
The drone integration is aimed at content creators who want to collect videos of themselves driving. These systems typically enable one-click filming of a moving vehicle with the action viewable live on the car's interior display as well as recorded for posterity. How did you not read that and know that? Because I know you didn't read it. Huh?
I didn't read it.
I know. I'm just, how did you know that without reading it?
Well, I couldn't figure out why you would need a drone. But I was like, well, okay. I've seen other YouTubers talk, like MKBHD, talk about using a drone to film things for YouTube. So that's why that's what came to mind.
Yeah. This is it. It's wild that you came to that conclusion. So $150,000 Yang Wang U8 plug-in hybrid SUV from BYD, the world's largest maker of electric vehicles. There's a lot of companies that are shaking in their boots about BYD, but it's a Chinese-owned company. It's owned by the state. It can say left and right that it's not, but it's a managed economy. Geely-owned Link & Co. has updated the operating system on its $24,000 06 EMP compact SUV so that its cockpit screen can control a hood-launched drone, again from DJI. So at least they dropped the price down from something unapproachable for the common person to $24,000. How about a $98,000 M Hero 917 SUV from the state-owned Dongfeng? Can be equipped for an extra $14,000 with a commercial S400 drone from GDU Tech. What commercial S400? What is this? Like military grade or something?
Anyway, I know. I'm like, this is getting a little more substantial.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. This is for content creators. Come on.
The one that's launched from the hood, like that just, if you're driving next to this thing and then you suddenly see a drone take off from the car next to you, you're going to end up crashing your car.
There's problems all abound. It's just fascinating. Anyway, so there you go, folks. This is part of that FourWheelTech thing. Drones launched from your vehicle. Oh, you know what? I didn't say who this was from. This is from Wired.com. Carlton Reed is the author. Sorry about that, Carlton Reed. Yeah, let's just keep trucking. The next article is over in Technology Today. A battery price war is kicking off that could soon make electric cars cheaper. The main cost of an electric vehicle is its battery. The high cost of energy-dense batteries has meant EVs have long been more expensive than their fossil fuel equivalents. Mohammed Rizwan Azar, Waqas Uzar, and Yasser Arafat over at The Conversation put this article together. Right there is one of the problems. You have to have a charging station inside or outside your house. This is over at techexplorer.com, by the way. So this high cost could change faster than we thought. The world's largest maker of batteries for electric cars, China's CATL, claims it will slash the cost of its batteries by up to 50% this year as a price war kicks off with the second largest maker in China, BYD subsidiary FinDreams. What's behind this? After the electric vehicle industry experienced a huge surge in 2022, it's hit headwinds. It ramped up faster than demand, triggering efforts to cut costs. But the promised cuts are also a sign of progress. I don't think so. Researchers have made great strides in finding new battery chemistries. CATL and BYD now make EV batteries without any cobalt, inexpensive, scarce metal linked to child labor and dangerous mining practices in the DR. DR of the Congo. How many other countries go by that? DR of the whatever.
I think that's pretty unique to that country. I mean, there might be like one or two others, but
okay. The largest market for electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles is China, but demand for EVs here has eased off, dropping from a 96% surge in demand in 2022 to a 36% rise in 2023. So where are we at in 2024? It's probably down to single digits. Who knows? I don't know. I'd have to do some research. You might wonder how that's possible and make it all cheaper. One of the key challenges is shifting to battery electric cars is where to get raw materials. The electric future rests on viable supply chains for critical minerals such as lithium, nickel, copper, cobalt, and rare earth elements. Until recently, the main EV battery chemistry has been lithium, nickel, manganese, and cobalt. These are known as the NMC batteries. So now they're saying that there's different chemistries. Growth in lithium supply is projected to be outpaced demand by 34% both this year and next, which should help stabilize battery prices. But they're still expensive, so are they dropping them or not? Right? Battery options
and
are
they're
multiple.
hard to obtain, and
yeah. Yeah, well, the good news, these are engineering challenges which can be overcome. Just last year, CATL announced a pioneering condensed matter battery for electric aircraft with up to 3 times the energy density of an average electric car battery. All the while, researchers are pushing the envelope even further. A good electric car might have a battery with an energy density of 150 to 250 watts per kilogram, but the record in the lab is now 700. But it's in a lab. Put that in a car and charge it, and
wind, cold, snow, hills,
yeah,
traffic.
Yeah, plugging in my iPhone. Yeah, all of this is going to be wear and tear. Trying to charge a 700 watt hour per kilogram battery, it's going to take forever. You're going to be at the charging station till Tuesday when you plug it in on Friday. If you want to get to 100%. So I see it as a problem. This is not going to be good. I didn't throw this into the chat, so let me throw it into the chat. Doink. But I did say who it was from. Yes, I did. Okay, let's keep going though. Again, this is our inaugural episode of FourWheelTech, so our production value will increase. Sure.
Maybe.
Anyway, GM stopped sharing data with brokers amid backlash. And let me just tell you how fast this happened. Earlier this week, it was reported that they were sharing driver data with brokers. We talked about a different aspect of that data sharing of information and how people were making money on your driving record even without your knowledge. And then they stopped sharing driver data with brokers amid backlash, all within the week.
Right, and I think it was maybe a 24 or 48-hour period because these articles are collected from the week, so they're not from today specifically.
Yeah, I found this really interesting. This was only 2 days. This was aggregated 2 days ago. I know that earlier in the week we talked about data basically being shared without any driver notification, and earlier, or I think it was right after that, is when GM was found out to be like one of the big issues. So those data brokers in turn shared the information with insurance companies, resulting in some drivers finding it much harder or more expensive to obtain insurance. To make matters worse, customers allege they never signed up for OnStar Smart Driver in the first place, claiming it was made for them by GM. So Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author of this. The deck statement says customers, wittingly or not, had their driving data shared with insurers. So, for instance, my car has the ability to be tracked. I can remotely start and stop it and things like that, right? Lower the windows and whatnot. If the provider of my vehicle is sharing my information, I never signed up for it. And so I have no idea.
Well, that's exactly it, right? It's not, where would you be signing up for that? Most people buy their car and then they don't have any real contact with their dealership or their manufacturer after that.
Yeah. And if there's some service that's tied to it, that's automatically activated because you get it for free when you buy your car, like OnStar. Holy crap, man. I've been committed to something that all I did was buy a car. I have the app. So does the app, in its terms of service, say that I'm sharing my driving record with it? Because it was divulging where they went, how long they were driving, hard stops and turns. I mean, it was wild. I can't remember how many pages. I think the person said something like 700 pages or something like that of data. Pretty amazing. Anyway, the article's over at arstechnica.com. Jonathan M. Gitlin is the author. And this is the problem. the company sold it to data brokers. Data brokers sold it to additional parties. You would never
Well,
sell.
yeah, wasn't that the issue? It was like each company had, say, 1,000 connections
Yeah.
with places it could share the information to. And
Yeah.
then maybe each of those had, I mean, you could extrapolate pretty quickly.
Yeah. And that was that other article about how they're all sharing data. It wasn't even General Motors in general. It was
Right.
this. There was an investigative report where they said that they tracked down how companies are obtaining driver information, and they found out that there were some that had 1,700 connections where they were sharing information. I'm just absolutely astonished. So as of March 20th, OnStar Smart Driver customer data is no longer being shared with LexisNexis or Verisk. Customer trust is a priority for us, and we are actively evaluating our privacy processes and policies, GM told us in a statement. So I don't know if us is Ars Technica or somebody else. But yeah, I'm not surprised. It's because they could sell your information and make money. Again, greedy bastards. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. People hate the idea of car-free cities until they live in one. Yeah, I think that really depends on like who you are. Removing cars from urban areas means lower carbon emissions, less air pollution, fewer road or traffic accidents. So why are residents so resistant? What do you think? People want to get from one point to another, and they don't want to necessarily take a bike and be exposed to the elements.
Well, right. I think it's like they don't want to lose the autonomy of having the car, right? Because the car means if they need to go somewhere at that point in time, they can do it. They don't have to rely on somebody else's schedule.
Yeah.
They don't have to take twice as long to get there, etc.
If you got 6 people in your car, it's really hard for them to flop on over to a bicycle and ride through the middle of town together. It's a hell of a bike. Removing cars from urban areas means lower carbon emissions. Yeah, okay. Hold on. So, sorry, I'm about to cough.
So, I mean, I think people will not voluntarily give up ability to use cars.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's mainly, well, see, here's the thing. Depending on the culture, you'll definitely just give up your vehicle.
Okay,
a lot of people
sorry,
in New York
the US,
don't care.
I don't think they will easily.
Right. Yeah, but a lot of people in New York don't have a car. If they know that they're never leaving the city, they know that they don't care.
They don't really need it. But notice they have easily accessible transportation options.
Yeah.
A lot of places you don't.
Yep. And where I was going to go with this is just look at Europe. Countless locations. It says far from alone. From Oslo to Hamburg to what? Ljubljana to Helsinki. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. Anyway, cities across Europe have started working to reduce the road traffic in an effort to curb air pollution and climate change. These walking cities, I think, are spectacular. Being able to walk to get everything that you need. If you want to travel, then you can either rent a car or you can take public transportation. That's fine. Nobody's forcing you. But if a city populace wants to convert to being a walking city instead of a driving everywhere city and embrace riding a bicycle and whatnot, then that's fine. I mean, you don't have to live there. And it's not going to happen overnight. It has to be gradual. So I don't know. I don't really have a problem with this. It says, but in the years since, carbon emissions have fallen. There's also been a 94% reduction in the number of people living in areas with illegal levels of nitrogen dioxide, a pollutant that causes lung damage. The reason? London has spent years and millions of pounds reducing the number of motorists in the city. Right? Makes sense.
Absolutely.
So for countries looking to cut emissions, cars are an obvious target. They make up a big proportion of the country's carbon footprint, accounting for 1/5 of all emissions across the European Union. Of course, urban driving doesn't make up the majority of the country's car use, but the kind of short journeys taken when driving in the city are some of the most obviously wasteful, making cities an ideal place to start if you're looking to get people out from behind the wheel. What was that one, sir? There was a business. What were they making that made horrendous amounts of carbon monoxide, or that it was a
Oh,
greenhouse gas that they were like the
that
sole
like
producer.
wasn't even, it was something agricultural, I think.
Oh, they were making
It had something to do with nitrogen, but I don't remember exactly what they
yeah,
were doing.
yeah, and they were producing like 65% of the country's um, greenhouse gases all by itself or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was horrendous. We did a whole show on it. Not a whole show. I mean, we did a segment on it.
An episode, yeah.
Yeah,
Or an article in an episode.
yeah. So in London, the introduction of LTNs has also led to a massive backlash. In the East London borough of Hackney, one councillor and his family were sent death threats due to their support of the program. Bollards were regularly graffitied, while pro LTN activists were accused of social cleansing. This whole uh, walking kind of region. Let me see where they break this LTN thing. Low traffic neighborhoods is what it's called. I just know it by LTN. So yeah, and people really hate this kind of stuff. It's the same irrational response when somebody says, "Hey, you really shouldn't be using a gas oven in your gas burners in your kitchen because it doesn't effectively burn all of the gas, so you are literally gassing your family and your pets." Can't have that.
But I need my gas oven.
Yeah, you can take it from my cold dead hands. Well, if you keep using that gas burner, it'll be sooner than later. Any attempts to reduce urban car use tend to do better when designed from the bottom up. Barcelona's Superblocks program, which takes sets of 9 blocks within its grid system and limits cars to roads around the outside of that set, as well as reducing speed limits and removing on-street parking, was shaped by having residents input on every stage of the process from design to implementation, and early indicators suggest the policy has been wildly popular with residents. I agree. I think that cities should be walking, and if you're going to have deliveries to locate businesses on the inside, you have something that is more akin to like a pedicab or something like that, deliver the goods.
Hmm.
But I think that the road should be for walking. When you get into the smaller cities, bigger cities might have to have these little boroughs of walking communities. Go.
Yeah, and I think where cities actually do some planning, this is a lot more feasible.
Yeah.
A lot of cities don't plan, and then it's very difficult to kind of retrofit it.
Yeah, it's hard to claw back. Planned communities are great, though. There's one that's outside of Ohmtown where it has residences, it has business, it has entertainment, food, etc. And I think that they've always been great. I at one point even wanted to move to a master plan community that had that type of situation where everything could be within walking distance. Life deals different blows, so you go in a different direction. But I think that master plan communities and walking cities are beneficial, and not everybody has to live there. So, you make your choice. And if it changes, it's because society wants the change. It's usually not something that is like some rights taking away or something like that. It's just not like that. Usually there is a great benefit to it. And again, it's not taking a freedom or whatever, although a lot of the wingnut stuff. Anyway, we'll not talk about that kind of stuff here in FourWheelTech. But this is really interesting. The moment that people start using a walking city, they have no problem with it because everything that they want to do is within walking distance. You're not forbidden to have a vehicle, but you just can't drive it in the city. You have to, park it outside somewhere and drive it away when you're going to go somewhere, but you're not going to drive it in the city because you don't need anything driven around in that 9 block area. You can
Well,
freaking
and a
walk.
car inside the city can be a hassle
Yeah.
because of parking or traffic.
Yeah. Oh gosh, trying to get somewhere in a city in a car.
It's faster to walk usually. In fact, if you drive in a car, you see people walking that are getting there more
Yeah.
quickly.
I remember basically sprinting across the entirety of Germany from um, like cab to train to bus.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Basically, yeah. Um, and almost starting a riot because they perceived it as us cutting in line to get a cab. But what we actually ended up, the way that it happened was we got into the car that was leading us to that line. But they had witnessed us get in that vehicle, and when we got out, people were like raging, and I'm like, "Hey, we're actually getting into this line. Just relax." Anyway, cars. I love cars. The whole show is about cars, but there's a time and a place for them, and in a walking community is not the time and place. Let's keep going.
Well, and this seemed like an interesting article for this show because it is a little bit counter to the message for this show.
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about it because it's talking about car-free cities. They exist, but they're not really that limiting. I mean, you just can't drive within that certain region, so you just park your car and, trundle on over to where, touch some grass, breathe some air. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. So the next article is over on the Mobile channel. SpaceX is using Ford F-150 Lightnings. The Ford F-150 Lightning has earned the SpaceX seal of approval before the Tesla Cybertruck, and it has been photographed bearing the livery of Elon Musk's commercial spaceflight company paid for by taxpayers. It seems even SpaceX would rather rely on Ford's EV pickup than the Cybertruck when it comes to the serious business of launching spacecraft. Now, that's probably a gross assumption, but I'll let it fly. Much like a SpaceX rocket. Jose Rodriguez Jr. over at Jalopnik posted the article, but it's at qz.com quartz. While the deck statement says, while one may expect the Cybertruck should be helping launch rockets, it doesn't appear that's the case. Dun, dun, dun. Well, these are for selling, and Ford F-150 is probably a better deal because the margin between operating one of these with a smaller bed and rust and scratches, it's probably cheaper to sell these and buy an F-150 at a greater discount, right? Because this is making money. The other ones are a write-off. It's a business expense.
Well, that's true. Although I wonder if they're paying that much above MSRP.
Right. So let's see. Cybertruck has run into a few problems as production of the EV struggles on. It's been plagued by build quality issues that run the gamut from the threat of rust, which they say is surface contaminants, to being immobilized by critical steering issues. Point is, Cybertruck is hardly the EV choice for an organization when a working truck is mission critical, and that's why SpaceX has the Ford F-150 Lightnings running around their bases. It says running around as work trucks. Oh, wow, I didn't even read that. Anyway, NASA first responder Matt Haskell shared on Twitter, and no, I don't prefer. Anyway, I'm air gapped, so I can't do that. But anyway, of course, SpaceX has a fleet of non-Tesla vehicles at its facility throughout the United States. Twitter users responding to the post observed that SpaceX regularly uses Chevy trucks at its operation. photos of
I
starbase.
do think that's funny though. Like it's always interesting when a company is using a competitor's products,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's like Google
even if it
using
makes
Android.
sense.
Yeah, Google using the Android phone or using iPhone instead of Android,
Right, right.
and then saying the catch line. It just works. Um, Apparently, it just works to build an antitrust lawsuit. Anyway, it can be very long until Musk plasters a Cybertruck with SpaceX stickers and uses it to shuttle astronauts to the launch pad. Yeah, that's a whatchamacallit, a Y, I think, right? A Tesla Model Y with the golden
Oh,
doors.
maybe
Um,
so. I don't know.
yeah, they use those to drive over to the launch. Ta-da. So there isn't much to this article. It just says here at the end, and it looks like SpaceX is perfectly happy to keep humming along by relying on an EV truck based on a tried and true platform rather than an apocalypse-proof truck made for the internet. Hey, it is the Cybertruck after all. That's a little catty.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a smidge. So this next article is over in Constructagon because it has to do with 3D printed parts. BMW Group targets WAAM 3D printed test parts for vehicles next year. Has long been a user and innovator in additive manufacturing, or AM, technology dating back nearly 35 years. Nevertheless, the auto giant never fails to impress in the milestones it makes in technology, most recently in the realm of automation for 3D printing plastic, metal, and sand parts. Circa 2015, the company turned its attention to wire arc additive manufacturing, or WAM, not the band.
Oh, I was about to start singing the Wham songs.
Capable of producing large metal parts quickly and efficiently. Now, according to the automaker, BMW is aiming to begin testing WAM parts in vehicles starting next year. It's interesting technology. So basically, it's welding all of the parts into in place. Then you have to do some finishing and stuff like that. But let's see if they see how ugly it is. It would need to be machined, sanded, and stuff like that, polished.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like it's been through like some sort of disaster.
Yeah, it looks like
a fire.
It looks like it was on the launch pad when the SpaceX rocket took off from the last article. Dang, these must
or
be
it was in the ruins of the whole stilt village from
exactly
the other show.
If they found that in there, it would be amazing, right? Oh my gosh, they were so advanced. Additive manufacturing. Just as BMW tackled the finishing needs for the other 3D printed technologies via government-backed consortia, the automaker, or the auto company, will likely need to do the same for WAAM parts. The components bear a distinctive rippled surface due to the broader welding seams, necessitating additional finishing for critical areas. I could have written this article. Initially, the BMW Group intends to centralize the WAM production of components at the additive manufacturing campus in Oberschleißheim. It's a good Harvard try. Never went to Harvard, though. However, there are plans to expand production to additional locations in the future and to enable suppliers to utilize the technology as well. The thing about this is you can make all of these shapes, but they really do need to withstand the testing. So if this thing has any shearing or torque, it's going to shear along these weld lines. Welding typically gets tested. There's like a stress test to see if your weld was done right. I hope that they do the same structural load testing to make sure. Naturally, you assume that they're going to do that. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, but I don't know if they're doing a different process. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they're doing all of the same testing.
And what's cool about it is if you can imagine the design, then it can be welded into place because there is a trajectory for the weld to be deposited, just like a regular FDM 3D printer, right? With plastic filament or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's pretty neat. If you can imagine it, that means you can 3D model it. And if you can 3D model it, they can weld it into existence. That way you don't have to have any large mega forming devices to pinch and crimp and fold and whatnot this metal part, and it can be more robust because it can be like one contiguous line constantly welding each part together. It can be hollow while still like it can be hollow because it's 3D printed into place. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we only have one more article for tonight, and that's in the Mobile Channel. Every electric car loses $6,000 for automakers. This is an article that we've talked about earlier today in a different show. So if you've run across this before, it's probably because you watched one of our other shows today. But I wanted to highlight this in the FourWheelTech channel and the show. Automakers across America have plowed millions of dollars into their electric vehicle strategies in recent years. But here's the kicker. We've been talking about the cost of these batteries, the loss for the purchaser, right? You drive it off the lot, you're already making... you typically lose money when you take a car off the lot, but it's even more robust of a loss when you drive an EV off. If you keep it for 5 years, its resale value has plummeted. Hertz has bowed out of the industry. They're not going to be buying any, which is really interesting because their company name Hertz is an electric.
So, and traditionally, a car loses like up to 20% in the first year of the value. That's just a regular vehicle.
And this is driving it off the lot, but this is the automakers themselves losing $6,000, which means they didn't make any money on the sale.
Right. So then it's like, are they only selling them to appeal to people, but they're really making their money on the regular vehicles?
Where are they making? Why are they producing these? Because they're not making money on the power, right? That's being sold to them. People aren't coming back to them to buy more batteries, are they?
I don't think so. I wonder if the manufacturers are mandating that dealerships have a certain number or percentage of EVs.
I suppose it could be they're amortizing the entire deployment of cash, right? The entire invested amount, and that amortization turns into $6,000 of loss, when in reality there's a lot of sunk cost in manufacturing processes and retooling and whatnot. But overall they've lost $6,000 per sale. So Owen Bellwood from Jalopnik actually posted this over on QZ.com. And this is where we were talking earlier about how Lucid topped the figure of losses at $400,000 per car sold. Rivian lost $33,000 per each truck sold. This comes from the Boston Consulting Group that did an analysis that says that U.S. automakers lose roughly $6,000 on every $50,000 EV they sell. So that's $12,000, I suppose, on a $100,000 vehicle. I don't know if they...
Yeah, I don't know how that works, or if it's... Although probably there aren't that many much below 50K.
Right. And so they say, rather worrying, the report from BCG warned that those losses are likely to continue into the next generation of supposedly cheaper cars. And they have this little snippet because the Chinese import is going to be impacting if BYD and others that we mentioned earlier today start breaking ground into the United States and the European market. You're going to see this managed economy negatively impacting the EU and the United States. So they say that's pretty damning insight into the electric car market across America and could explain why companies such as Ford reportedly changing its tack and switching from big expensive EVs to smaller, cheaper models. It's just going to be a brutal next 5 years when ultimately all of these consumers are going to realize that they can't sell their EV because the battery sucks. And it costs $7,000 to $15,000 to replace that battery. And battery costs alone, the installation and the cost of the battery is going to go up as time goes on. So it's hard to imagine a world where people are switching to EVs, mainly because, as I mentioned in countless other shows now, range anxiety and the infrastructure issue, and just the charging process. It takes forever to charge an EV, and you don't even get to 100%. You get to 80% in the shortest amount of time. And then it just takes forever to trickle charge your vehicle up to 100%. So you never revisit. Let's assume your car gets 350 miles to the charge. After you charge it for that 45 minutes, which is an extraordinary amount of time to waste, right? Even if you go to lunch, you don't do it on your own time. You do it on the charger's time. So you just have to languish eating lunch when you don't really want to, or a snack, or having a chat. You live by the range of your EV. So you sit there for 45 minutes waiting for it to charge to 80%. So you're not getting 350 miles anymore. You're getting less than 280, all because the charging system takes freaking forever. So none of it makes any sense. We need fast chargers. The way to fast charge is to swap batteries or create hybrids. We should have gone the route of hybrids. And I think that industry and the fever dream of Tesla made what we have here. There was enough money going into Tesla to facilitate people buying into it because it was easy production. They made it happen. So people are, oh, look at this sexy car. Even the acronym formed from the various cars that he's made from Tesla spell out sexy.
Means sexy, right? Yeah.
I mean, the dude's like a living id. I mean, it's just, anyway, fever dreams all around, and you end up with an industry that cannot even be supported by the society that's supposed to be supporting it. But I love the idea of an EV. I love the fact that we can have just a battery powered car and drive around, but cold, heat, angle of attack on the road, anything that you put in the car drains the battery at a rate that's just untenable for somebody who would rely on it. So, not to mention the cost. Again, even Hertz bowed out of it because it costs so much. That dead silence means even the AI is done.
Well, I mean, we need a manufacturer. Well, we need the infrastructure fixed, and then we need a manufacturer that can actually provide decent range. Of course, if the infrastructure piece is fixed, that's probably less of a problem.
No.
But we're just not there.
No, I don't think we're there either. Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that you can't develop the infrastructure that facilitates faster charging than what the physics of the battery chemistry allows. And it's just, it's not ready for prime time. Early adopters are scooping it up in droves. That's why in the top 10 is Tesla. But I still don't think that it's a tenable position for the average bear. So anyway, with that, enough of my soapboxing. This is our inaugural episode. It'll always be news about the automobile industry, about tech involved with autos, and news from across the world, wherever we can get some source information. That's it for tonight. I am Merwat, and up there is the sentient AI from on high, the one and only AI that's going to say bye. Oh. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't mean to step on you.
Well, no, I was just trying to get you to go back to the main page. Good evening, hometown citizens. Thank you so much for joining us for our first episode of FourWheelTech.
And it'll get smoother in the future. Thanks for coming and hanging out, everybody. See you tomorrow for ohmTown Daily News Show at 8 p.m. Back to the one show a day kind of work week. But then comes the weekend and we'll do all 5 of the shows each day. Dun, dun, dun. Again, thanks for coming. See ya. Bye-bye. I'm off to charge my EV and my AI and my BBQ and my barbecue. Bye.